For 3 decades, one of television's most iconic hosts welcomed America into living rooms nationwide, introducing audiences to thousands of personalities from every corner of entertainment. But beyond the interviews and laughs, this legendary figure possessed an almost scientific ability to read people. According to a longtime producer, he noticed things about people that even they didn't know about themselves. He could read micro-expressions and catch the smallest details in how someone carried themselves. In his retirement years, during an intimate gathering at his coastal home, the host surprised friends by sharing his personal list of 8 women whose presence had left the most indelible impression on his storied career. It wasn't merely about conventional attractiveness. It was about that indefinable quality that made cameras come alive and audiences hold their breath. The woman who owned every room. When this Hollywood icon first appeared, something remarkable happened. The notoriously composed host was momentarily speechless. A camera operator recalled, the reaction was physical. You could feel the collective intake of breath when she walked out. What set her apart wasn't just physical beauty, but the confidence with which she carried herself. As one producer noted, she didn't enter a room, she took it over. He meant it as high praise, someone who understood their own power and wielded it deliberately. Her appearances created what staff called a mysterious doubling of male employees whenever her name appeared on the schedule. The host once quipped during a commercial break, if she signed up for the Army, there'd be no draft dodgers. Behind the glamour was sharp intelligence. A talent coordinator remembered. He said she understands exactly who she is and what she represents. She doesn't fight it or apologize for it. That's rare and refreshing. The Italian Venus, who brought European sophistication. When this international film icon made her debut, the atmosphere transformed completely. A director recalled, he prided himself on treating every guest the same. But with her, something shifted. His body language changed, leaning forward more, touching his tie repeatedly. All these tells that he was genuinely affected. Unlike American beauties who projected approachable cheerfulness, she brought European gravitas and sensual maturity. A writer noted, you don't interview her, you try to survive her. She brought wonderful intensity. Her eyes would lock onto his when speaking, and you could almost see him fighting to maintain professional demeanor. The crew treated her with almost reverential respect. Everyone was on their absolute best behavior, a production assistant remembered. Not just because of how she looked, but because of what she represented, an international legend who had worked with cinema's greatest directors. The perfect 10, who silenced the studio. Following the release of her breakthrough film, this actress made an appearance that created an unprecedented moment. The typically vocal audience fell into complete silence as she walked on stage, not usual applause, but stunned appreciation. A talent coordinator recalled, even those of us who had seen the film weren't prepared for the impact in person. There's something different about beauty in 3 dimensions. The camera actually diminished her rather than enhancing her, which almost never happens. What made her appearances memorable was her disarming naturalness. The combination was incredibly disarming, a producer said. There was this disconnect between how extraordinary she looked and how ordinary, in the best sense, she seemed as a person. The host later commented, she has no idea how beautiful she is, and that makes her twice as beautiful. He respected that she wasn't using her looks strategically. They were simply a fact of her existence. Hollywood royalty, who commanded the stage. The booking of this Hollywood goddess was considered such a significant event that network executives attended pre-production meetings. Rarely doing television interviews, her appearance became a genuine event. A stage manager remembered, when she arrived, there was this palpable shift in atmosphere. Staff members who had worked with presidents and music legends were suddenly standing a little taller. She brought a sense that we were in the presence of genuine Hollywood history. Unlike most guests who walked in, she arrived a measured pace, acknowledging the standing ovation with a nod and smile that managed to be both gracious and imperial. She didn't need their validation, a cameraman observed. She already knew her value. The host later remarked, you don't see that anymore, that kind of grand stardom. She doesn't give away everything. She keeps something for herself. That reservation, that sense of mystery, was something he deeply respected. The Sunshine Girl with a $1 million smile. When this cultural phenomenon made her debut shortly after a groundbreaking TV series premiered, the studio audience's reaction was so prolonged that the host had to signal his director to edit it down for broadcast. An NBC page recalled, "People forget now, but she represented this perfect cultural moment. When she walked onto stage, you'd have thought the Beatles had arrived. I had to ask audience members to remain in their seats." She brought an almost incandescent quality, vibrant energy, and approachability that distinguished her among stunning women who crossed the stage. A talent coordinator noted, "She generated actual joy. People were smiling just looking at her." He told his producer, "She's like human champagne. The whole room feels more bubbly when she's in it." Her willingness to be spontaneous created memorable moments. One cameraman remembered an impromptu bit. She handed him a brush and said, "Show me how you do it." The audience went crazy, and he actually stood up looking absolutely terrified of messing up those perfect waves. Elegant pioneer with unmatchable poise. As the first black woman to star in her own network series in a non-stereotypical role, this actress brought both extraordinary beauty and historic significance to her appearances. A producer observed, where most guests showed nervous energy, she always appeared completely composed. That self-possession, combined with her obvious intelligence and articulate responses, created this wonderful presence that was simultaneously warm and slightly regal. What impressed the host most was her ability to address significant topics, racism in Hollywood, her responsibility as a pioneering figure, while remaining thoroughly entertaining. She can make important points without ever seeming like she's lecturing. "That's a rare gift," he told his producer. A writer recalled a remarkable moment. She gently but firmly redirected the conversation to address limited opportunities for black actresses. She did it with such grace that it didn't create awkwardness. Most guests would never have redirected him that way. The host once commented, "She never makes you choose between taking her seriously and enjoying her company." Many guests could manage one or the other, but rarely both simultaneously. The original action film icon who stopped the show. When this Swiss actress made her first appearance, shortly after creating one of cinema's most iconic moments in the first spy franchise film, she brought mythological status. An NBC executive remembered there was something almost mythological about her beauty, this perfect combination of European sophistication and primal sensuality. When she walked onto stage, there was this collective intake of breath. It wasn't just appreciation. It was closer to awe. A cameraman recalled, he was introducing the night's guests, and when he got to her name, he completely lost his train of thought. For the most professional, prepared host in the business, to have that kind of visible reaction was almost unprecedented. What made her particularly effective was the contrast between goddess-like appearance and surprisingly direct, unpretentious conversation. A writer noted, "She didn't seem to be performing beauty. She simply embodied it without apparent effort." Combined with her directness, she would answer questions with a frankness that sometimes startled him. The beautiful absence, an icon who never appeared. Perhaps the most intriguing name on the host list was someone who never actually sat on his couch, a star who passed away just months before he took over as permanent host. A longtime producer explained, though she never appeared in person, he referred to her often. It became almost a running theme, this sense that she represented something quintessential about American beauty and celebrity that later stars could approach but never quite capture. In private conversations, he would occasionally speculate about how an interview might have unfolded. He once called her the most beautiful woman who never sat in that chair, recalled someone close to him. He had this theory that beneath the manufactured persona was an intelligent, wounded soul with genuine artistic aspirations. As his understanding evolved over decades, so did his appreciation of her complexity. A writer from his later years remembered, his references shifted from simply acknowledging her as the quintessential symbol to more thoughtful comments about how the entertainment industry had both created and ultimately failed her. He once told his producer after speaking with a film historian, "We all missed who she really was. We saw what we wanted to see." It was a remarkably reflective comment from someone who had spent so long in the entertainment industry. For this legendary host, she ultimately represented the perfect intersection of extraordinary beauty and compelling psychological complexity. The ideal guest who combined visual appeal with substantive conversational possibilities. Her absence remained one of the great missed opportunities of his long career.